Good evening, Mr. Stianyezi, and thanks very much for your time. Truth is, you knew long before today's meetings, that the candidates you'd put forward today would in fact lose. There must have been a bigger point, surely, that you wanted to make.
Well, clearly, Voyo, there is a bigger point that we wanted to make, and that was that I think if, as an opposition party, we were to simply sit back and watch as these compromised individuals, many of whom were at the heart of the state capture project, were elevated into these key positions in Parliament, unopposed, unchecked, it would be a terrible indictment on Parliament itself. And that was why we chose in those 9 committees today to make sure that we put forward alternative candidates. Now, we didn't prevail, but the record is going to show very clearly, as this Parliament proceeds, that we were right. And those parties and those individuals in that committee who voted for the Masebenzi Zwanes of the world, the Faith Mutambis of the world, are going to have a day of reckoning that's going to come, because there will be consequences for the choices that the ANC have made today and the insult that they've put before the people of South Africa by putting such compromised individuals in such important positions in such an important institution.
What can the Ethics Committee possibly do, though?
Well, obviously what we have is a number of cases that were not completed at the end of the 5th Parliament. Most notably here the case against the new Home Affairs chairperson, Bongani Bongo, who was at a very advanced stage of a hearing into allegations of bribing the evidence leader in a parliamentary inquiry into state capture at Eskom. That obviously needs to be revived. But there are also a number of individuals, most notably have Mrs. Tina Jumat-Peterson, who managed to escape accountability from Parliament because she resigned as a minister. She's now back as a member of Parliament. She's now Portfolio Committee Chair, and I think she's got some accounting to do around her role in the sale of the strategic oil reserves in South Africa at rock-bottom prices. Ex-Minister Faith Mutambi has got some accounting to do around the allegations of leaking secret cabinet minutes to members of the Gupta family, who's got some accounting to do over the scathing court judgments which were damning of her and her role in the SABC. And so we intend to revive these matters and place them before the Ethics Committee, because it's important that we defend institutions like Parliament and ensure that we're upholding the ethics and accountability that we're demanding of government departments in our own house. It's going to be very difficult to have chairpersons like this cleaning up and cleaning out state capture when they themselves were the enablers, the architects and the implementers of the state capture project in South Africa.
Well, let's listen to what your ANC counterpart, the ANC's chief whip, had to say today about your stance.
I can agree with you that there are delaying tactics, but also if opposition parties are objecting based on the allegations and accusations, members of the ANC are citizens of South Africa, and they must be accorded that respect that is accorded to any other member of the country. We are a constitutional state, and if a person is alleged, those allegations must be tested in court of laws and in relevant structures. At the moment, we have passed objection period during the nomination of candidates, and the constitutional Justice was here to say these are the members of Parliament. Now, when you come to committees to say they must be members half and not be members of committees in terms of chairpersonship, to me that does not make sense. But however, they have a right of freedom of speech. But I think they must allow ANC to do its work, and we have deployed our capable comrades. If there is anything that might come out of about one of our chairpersons that is under investigation, then the ANC will act accordingly. But at the moment, there's nothing really that we can act upon and say, don't preside over this committee.
Mr. Stianyezi, treat these people with respect. That's what the ANC said.
Well, absolutely not, because they haven't treated the people of they haven't treated the people of South Africa with respect. And frankly, I think the ANC's chief whip's argument is disingenuous, and she's trying to cloak treachery under a cloak of high principle. The truth of the matter is these people all have serious allegations. They all have had charges levelled against them. Many of them have chosen not to cross-examine at the Zondo Commission, which surely is an acceptance of the fact that what has emerged is factual. But I would come back to the point that Parliament as an institution should be jealously safeguarding its integrity and its principles as an arena of executive accountability. Now, you may well say that Marcus Jooste has not been found criminally guilty of anything yet. But if he was elected as a CEO of a company, the shareholders would rightly have concerns. We, our citizens, are all shareholders in South Africa. We, as members of Parliament, are shareholders in Parliament. And I think we should be rightly concerned at the deployment of these very compromised individuals into important positions that very well should be being used to clean up and clean out the state capture project. How on earth do you, hand on heart, say that you're cleaning up and cleaning out when you yourself were deeply entrenched and involved in many of the scandals that Parliament itself is now going to have to look into going forward if we truly are to root out the state capture project from our body politic?
Now, you and the ANC may not have found one another on this one, but I understand there could be areas where at least some in the ANC in Parliament may be keen to work with you on, and one such area has to do with your desire for an inquiry into the Public Protector's fitness to hold office.
Well, correct. And I think that anybody who takes their role of upholding the Constitution, anybody who takes their role as a public representative seriously in Parliament should support, at the very least, having the inquiry into the fitness of the Public Protector to hold office. The Constitution is clear that she's accountable to Parliament. The Public Protector Act says very clearly that she's accountable to Parliament, and it's up to Parliament to determine her fitness to hold office. I think given the series of scathing judgments, her findings that have been overturned, her findings that have been deemed unconstitutional, that Parliament would be failing in its responsibility, derelict in its duty, if it didn't at the very least conduct an inquiry into Mrs. Mkhwebani's fitness to hold office. It would be a fundamental failure of Parliament's important role of oversight of that important office. And so we hope that those parties will support the inquiry taking place and that we will be able to honestly deal with these very, very serious stumblings of the Public Protector that have had a very, very undermining effect on the integrity of that important Chapter 9 institution's role in our constitutional democracy.
I understand some senior members of the ANC have actually made advances, spoken to you about this and the possibility that does exist that they could actually go with you on this one.
Yes, there's people of integrity across the House who have come to me and said to me, look, we're behind you on this, and things can't continue the way they are with the Public Protector who's clearly and patently unfit for the job. And whether they're going to be able to overcome the yoke of the party whip in this instance remains to be seen. But I would certainly hope that all members of Parliament who take their job seriously, who do what they swore to do to uphold the Constitution and all law of the Republic, as they did when they took the oath of office, would take this particular responsibility very, very seriously indeed, and do what's right for the people of South Africa, what's right for the Constitution, and what's right for Parliament, and conduct the inquiry.
That's where we're going to leave it tonight. Thanks very much for your time, John Steenhuisen, who is the Democratic Alliance's Chief Whip in the National Assembly.